says Ramaphosa is concerned about the developments in Iran.
As South Africa, we firmly believe that the right to peaceful protest, freedom of expression, and freedom of association are universal human rights that must be upheld without exception. We therefore call on the Iranian authorities to ensure that citizens exercise their right to protest in peace. Sustainable peace and stability can only be achieved through solutions that center the agency of the Iranian people.
The number of fatalities recorded on the country's roads during the festive season decreased by 5% compared to the previous December break. At least 1,427 people lost their lives during the holiday season. The Transport Department has earlier today released the festive season road safety report for the 2025-2026 period. Minister Barbara Creasy says the lowest number of crashes have been recorded in 5 years.
There was a notable increase in fatalities from the 15th to the 28th of December. These 2 weeks contributed more than 40% to crashes and fatalities. And this confirms that festive season crashes and fatalities increase once travellers reach their final destination and are engaged in festivities rather than during the peak travel period.
A decision on whether the CCTV footage capturing the murder of media personality DJ Warris should be brought to court will be made this afternoon. This as the man accused of orchestrating the DJ's murder, whose real name was Warwick Stock, appears in the Johannesburg court for the continuation of his bail hearing today. Soweto taxi boss Victor Majola is charged with conspiracy to commit murder and the premeditated murder of Stock. The media personality was shot and killed in Joburg's CBD last month. Arun Singh has more.
Yesterday, Victor Majola's attorney, Dumisani Khumalo, made an application to have the CCTV footage showing the moments leading up to the murder of Warwick Stock be brought to court. This after it was alleged that Majola, accused of orchestrating Stock's murder, is seen in the footage together with the unidentified gunman loitering around Vonwillig Street in Joburg CBD about 45 minutes before Stock is gunned down. Mabunda and senior state prosecutor Vincent Mochabela argued over whether the court should order for the footage to be brought before it. Mochabela claims that the footage is at SAPS's forensic lab in Pretoria and not readily available. Magistrate Annalise Tlapi will make a ruling on the application at 2 p.m. Arun Singh, Eyewitness News.
Staying in the courts, 5 suspects are appearing in court for the murder of 2 women from Orange Farm. Nontokozo Mazibuko and Andiswa Sontangane, both aged 25, were last seen on New Year's Eve after leaving home in their vehicle in Porki. Police say one of the victims' mothers received a ransom demand, and days later their decomposing bodies were found in a veld in Porki. The police's Dimakatso Nebului says an unlicensed firearm was recovered during the arrest.
Preliminary investigation led the team to Brad's, where they discovered the victim's vehicle abandoned at a car wash. The vehicle was fixed with false number plates but had the correct disc number. The firearm will be subjected to ballistic testing to determine whether it has been used in the commission of crime.
In the Western Cape, Knysna residents have been urged not to buy large water storage tanks or fill their JoJo tanks with tap water, as this puts pressure on the already strained water supply. In the event there isn't significant rainfall or successful augmentation from alternative sources, the Garden Route town will only have an estimated 10-day water supply. Mayor Thando Madinka says the boreholes will soon be activated to relieve pressure on the system.
Right, I wait for Thursday. There is some predictions that there might be some rain on Thursday. So we are appealing to the residents. They are not assisting the system and the pressure that as a municipality we are facing.
Matinga says the Knysna City Council will declare the water crisis as a state of disaster tomorrow.
We have already declared it as a crisis in December. It's no longer a crisis, it must be a disaster, so that it can activate provincial and national government to also mitigate and assist in terms of resources.
Meanwhile, provincial local government officials say today's rainfall, estimated at 15 millimeters, will not ease the strained water supply. The department's Graham Polzer says the municipality has prepared for today's rains by placing sandbags over the dam's wires in order to catch and pump more water, a practice done when the water level flows below the pipe openings.
There's many augmentation initiatives that we are undertaking at this point in time. So we have identified 7 balls, existing balls. We want to refurbish them. So all that augmentation gives us plus minus about 12 megaliters of water into the system.
And social media platform X is set to block Grok AI from digitally undressing images of real people. This comes as government ministers condemn the action, citing safety concerns. Sir Keir Starmer has described the non-consensual sex images produced by Grok as disgusting and shameful, and media regulator Ofcom has launched an investigation. X has announced that it has implemented technological measures to prevent Grok from editing images of people in revealing clothing. According to reports, government has threatened its owner, billionaire Elon Musk, with a potential fine or ban in the UK should the technological measures not be implemented properly. Gold's trading at $4,609.84 an ounce. The rand's at 16.37 to the dollar, at 21.99 to the pound, at 19.04 to the euro. Brent crude oil's at $64.33 a barrel.
Leaving the Joburg CBD, slow-moving traffic in Selby, M2 westbound between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road, while in the mother city. There's an accident seen on the M3 southbound. This is heading towards Fairgrove Way, causing delays all the way from Kendall Road. There's also sand on the roadway. This is on Baden Powell Drive between Oscar Mpeta and Muwe.
A look at your weather. It's a cloudy day in Gauteng today with isolated showers and thunder showers expected. Temperatures are peaking at highs between 27 and 30 degrees. It's a partly cloudy afternoon in the mother city today with strong southeasterly winds at a high of 23 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. President Cyril Ramaphosa has called for calm and peaceful dialogue in Iran as waves of protests continue in the Middle Eastern country.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. You're with Mandy Wiener on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. Coming up on the show today, Dion George quits the DA live on air. We'll take you to that interview he's currently doing on ENCA. Flooding in Limpopo, flights cancelled, schools closed, villages are cut off. Slight decrease in road traffic fatalities over December. The Crime Intelligence head is on the stand at the ad hoc committee, and polls are open in Uganda amidst a security crackdown. All of that over the next hour.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Report on 702 and Cape Talk with me, Mandy Wiener. Sure, never a dull moment in South Africa. I was getting ready to do the show, all good, and suddenly Dion George starts the statement on ENCA and is reading from a few pieces of paper. He's effectively doing a live statement. And if you've been following this story, you'll know that there is this internal, some people describe it as a war, a skirmish, whatever it might be within the Democratic Alliance. Some have described it to me as a bit of a Game of Thrones in the DA. And this is between the party leader, John Steenhuisen, and the Finance Committee chair, Dion George. So just for context, it was alleged that George was removed from his cabinet position under questionable circumstances. So the public protector is investigating that. Steenhuisen was this week cleared of misappropriating party funds, an allegation made by George shortly after he was fired as minister. And this week it was announced that a preliminary investigation led by Dennis Breitenbach cleared Steenhuisen, both men still facing a disciplinary inquiry into whether they breached the party's federal constitution by bringing the party into disrepute. Now, George has just quit the DA live on air. Let's take a listen in to that exclusive from ENCA.
The workload is massive. They do not deserve this kind of thing to be happening to them. so that to the DA councillors and the MPs and the MPLs who deserve so much better than this, it is deeply saddening to me because they grind out there and what they want to do is make our country better. And then this is what happens to our party. And this is the huge tragedy. So I feel very emotional about it, obviously, because I've spent so much time. That is, you know, most of my adult life I have been in the DA. My blood is blue. It still is, you know. And so, yeah, it's very emotional. But it is the thing I had to do. I've been gagged since November. My reputation has been trashed. There was all sorts of terrible things being said that were totally unsubstantiated. What did it do to my family? I was fired when I was in Brazil, on the other side of the world, and I never even heard it from the party. I heard it from Carol Payton, who called me before I did the president's speech, because the president had asked me to go early to Belém to deliver his speech at the leaders' conference because he couldn't go. So I went early. I'd been to Rio. I also was invited by United for Wildlife, Prince William's Trust, to talk about South Africa's combating illicit wildlife trafficking. I did a speech there. And then at Belém, just before I delivered the president's speech, which I read verbatim, I got a call from Carol Payton and she said, are you going to resign as minister? And I said, no. And she said, is there going to be a reshuffle? And I said, I don't know. And then it broke in the media. My team that was busy negotiating, because I was the co-chair of adaptation for COP30, they were devastated. And I said, look, just relax. Just, you know, we don't have any details. I'm still the minister until the president actually fires me. I don't really know. So just carry on. Do not blink. Just keep going. And that's what happened. But I was on the other side of the world. And then what happened was, obviously, I got a letter from the president on the 11th. On the 12th, he announced it. Then, of course, there was this mad media frenzy. I was in Brazil, away from home, on government business. I then told the president of COP, I said, look, I've been dismissed. But I'd already done a lot of work, you know, before that, so that I could set up what we needed to do. So the outcome was reasonable, I think. And then, of course, the NGOs, who, interestingly, I used to abrase with quite a lot when I was the minister, they started asking questions, like, why has George been fired? And then there was, well, you know, there was no reason, because I still don't have a reason. We don't know this reason, what the reason is. But then what happened was, then a smear campaign started. In fact, it was so bad that one of the journalists, who, you know, I jokingly say that he's one of the more, you know, interesting ones, actually contacted me and he said, you know what? There's a smear campaign going on against you. Who do you think it is? And I said, well, actually, I'm not sure, because I was across the world. I mean, it was done deliberately to destabilize me. You know, it was a very difficult time, you know. Luckily, though, I'm strong. You know, I've been around for a long time, so I'm stronger than a herd of elephants.
So I'm going to interject here, because I need to understand at what point you decided, this is it for me, I'm resigning, because you mentioned in your statement that you took the credit card away from John Steenhuisen in March. You were only fired in November. The allegations in your affidavit to the public protector speak about cadre deployments and why you actually think you were dismissed. Take us through that.
Well, my relationship with John Steenhuisen was deteriorating. I mean, as it's been mentioned, I mean, we haven't been buddies or anything, but, you know, we've been pretty close and supportive of one another. Around August times, 22nd of August, John had called me to his office and said that there were a number of complaints that had come from the department. They were basically about taking away delegations, not signing the fracking regulations, etc. Things that I said, well, yes, of course, I'm holding everybody to account. I mean, you know, I was taking action against the chief director of communications because he was doing things in the department that were not permitted, like doing business with the department through a front company. So I was taking a lot of action. So I was, obviously, I didn't go in there to get co-opted. I got there to do my job. So anyway, that was, you know, and John had said, well, you know, these complaints. There was no other complaints about anything else, any other allegations, nothing. But throughout the time, I was obviously working on closing the captive lion industry, which is South Africa's policy, the DA's policy. John did say to me that I should meet with the captive breeders. Yes, I should meet with them because it's awkward, etc. And I'd said I can't do that because we're in court on a number of things, So it's irregular. You can't do that.
Sure. So this is a live interview currently underway between Dion George and Heidi Jokos on ENCA. Breaking news, Dion George has just resigned from the DA. He's just quit. And this, of course, against that background of the internal battle between Dion George and John Steenhuisen, the leader of the Democratic Alliance. Remember, this week it was announced that Glynis Breitenbach had cleared John Steenhuisen on the allegations made by George. The public protector is still investigating. There is also still another investigation that they may have brought the party into disrepute. And remember, this has huge connotations. Firstly, the DA goes to an elective conference in April of this year. If John Steenhuisen is suspended, then in the interim, Ivan Meyer, as I understand it, would become the party leader. But also it could open the door for so many other contenders. What about people like Solly Malatsi or Siviwe Gwagube or Dean McPherson as potential? Jordan Hill-Lewis is the front runner, but he hasn't indicated yet that he will be contending. And all of this could be potentially very damaging for the DA in a local government year. So there you have it. Dion George quits the DA live on television. Let me know your thoughts. Send me a WhatsApp voice note. Let me know what you think about that.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
In Limpopo, flooding in many parts of the province. Flights have been cancelled into the Kruger National Park. Many schools have been closed. Villages have been cut off as well. Yesterday, we spoke to the MEC of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs in that province as well. Our reporter, Mongezi Koko, is in Limpopo and joins us now. Mongezi, good afternoon to you. Give us a picture across the province today.
A very good afternoon to you, Mandy. Well, it's an ever-evolving situation, as you'd imagine. Airlink suspending all its flights to Hoedspruit, which is the airport here in Limpopo, and a second day of these suspensions ongoing. Now, yesterday, we saw continued rainfall, which resulted in more flooding. Now, I'm standing on the D3840 bridge, which was completely submerged, and this is where the MEC of Cocta then arrived alongside emergency rescue personnel and the likes and cordoned off this particular bridge owing to the dangers that it poses. Now, Mandy, some unique instances that we've seen is a house completely submerged where there were about 4 occupants, and we saw the SANDF then deployed with a helicopter to try and retrieve those family members. And alongside, of course, you see the schools continuing to suffer the same effects that they were suffering yesterday. It's expected to continue well into the weekend. Some of the updates that we got from the MEC as he was here moments ago was how the provincial government doesn't have the resources to tackle this huge of a task, and him stating that he's noted the seriousness and severity of the issue. Now, you remember that when you did have him on the show yesterday, he highlighted how there was deployments, etc. Today, he changed his tone and then said that we are fully deploying more people, emergency rescue personnel in collaboration with the SANDF and SAPS. So it's a situation that is constantly evolving, and we're seeing a little more tragedies now where people are getting swept away and the rescue missions are actually taking place.
Mongezi, yesterday we had the issue with schools being closed in some areas. I've heard of instances where there are rivers between communities and schools. Yes. What is the education department saying there?
The education department remains resolute in its stance that it is going to keep schools closed likely into the new week. They had initially said they will reopen them on Monday, but given that the weather conditions are expected to continue into the weekend, it seems as though there's going to be a little bit of a longer delay. They haven't really indicated how they will fast-track getting the students and the learners up to speed and on track with their counterparts in different parts of the province as yet, but we do understand that they're prioritizing safety at the moment.
And local people you're speaking to, what is their sense of what could have been done and what the anticipation was?
Well, particularly around this bridge, the community feels as though finally the municipality is taking action and assisting them. And when we visited that area where the house was completely submerged and there were 4 occupants inside, that's where we saw a little bit of a different opinion there, saying that the municipality waited for a tragedy to take place. Others indicating that they called that toll number that they have and indicated that the rains are so severe, can you please come assist? And the municipality saying that there's nothing they can do if it's raining. The suggestion was just evacuation with no alternative or solution. So many are displaced, but we don't know as yet where they're going to find temporary shelter. Are they going to be moved to local city halls, or if they're going to be moved into structures that the Copter Department and Human Settlements has erected?
Mongezi, thank you very much. Mongezi Koko, EWN reporter in Limpopo for us. Let's speak now to Freddie Ngobe, who's the spokesperson for the Cooperative Governance Department in Limpopo. Freddie, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time. We spoke with the MEC 24 hours ago. What update can you give us?
The update, thanks for the opportunity. The update is that we have recorded yet another fatality last night, confirmed this morning by the police, of a woman which drowned at a river around White River, which brings to 19 the deaths so far since the start of the summer season from November coming this side, and over 1,000 houses and several schools affected. And as a province and government with other stakeholders, we are ensuring that we intervene through humanitarian aid and so on, so that at least we avert future or possible deaths and damage to property.
And in terms of any people who may have lost their lives or any emergency situations, what is the update on that?
The update is that since November to date, particularly in the last few weeks where the rains have really intensified, we can confirm 19 fatalities and over 1,000 houses, 28 schools, several roads, bridges, and so on, even your agriculture, equipment, and crops. It's quite a serious destruction or massive destruction as far as the disaster is concerned. That is what it's containing on the ground. But of course, being Coxstar Department, this is what we are aware of. This is what we're mandated to do. We ensure that we intervene through your disaster centers from municipality, district, and the local municipalities, and other structures like your SABs, Rescue SA, Gift of the Givers, and other stakeholders within the sector.
Those people who have been displaced, what efforts are being made to assist them?
It's not much that they've been displaced because it's mainly households. But however, where you have a serious crisis like your education, they will then take the students or the pupils to other schools, or maybe, let's say, share classes and so on, and also use your public facilities like your halls, daycare centers, and so on. That is basically it. But don't have a situation where you have a community submerged in water, where you also need a rescue mission. It's only those rivers and low-lying areas where you have challenges and which you constantly intervene as government.
Freddie, thank you very much. Freddie Ngobe, spokesperson for Cooperative Governance in Limpopo, speaking to us there. I've seen some videos of some of the rest camps in Kruger, the Lataba restaurant under quite a bit of water as well. Those flights being cancelled into Hoedspruit as well. So real implications there for residents in Limpopo, a lot of the travel industry as well, schools being closed, villages being cut off. Well, what's causing this? Honolo Tobela is a forecaster at the Weather Service and joins us now. Honolo, good afternoon to you. Thanks for your time. What is driving this weather system over Limpopo and Mpumalanga?
Good afternoon, and thanks for the opportunity. One thing that I'll say, it is a low pressure system, and with a low pressure system, it is called a tropical low. And why is it driving this? It has enough moisture, warmth, and it's producing, or rather transporting, a lot of moisture into the northeastern parts of the country. And that is why we're receiving a lot of rain, because for the rain to happen, the clouds need a lot of moisture. So what's happening with this weather system, it is lasting over that area for a longer time, and it's slow moving. And as it moves slow, it means the impact starts to grow greater. That is why we have a red level 10 warning for disruptive rain over that area.
What are the expectations over the next few days?
I'm expecting 80 to 100% chance of rain and showers. This is expected over the low belt of Mpumalanga and most parts of the areas that are expected. Let me say in the next 24 to 48 hours, the actual municipalities that are expected to be impacted, as it is the Maruleng and Bapalabura local municipality, Nkomazi local municipality, city of Mbombela, into Bushbuckridge, as well as Greater Giyani, Greater Tzaneen, and Greater Letaba and Collins Chavane. These areas expecting an 80 to 100% chance chance of rain and showers still expected to continue into the next coming 2 days. And with that, we're expecting millimeters of rain and accumulation to be around 100 to about 200 millimeters of rain. That's still expected, especially within the forecast period.
How unusual is this for this to be happening in Limpopo at this time of year?
For this time of the year, the system is not unusual for it to occur, but with the type of rainfall that is received in the northeastern parts, it is quite often abnormal instance, especially because there was no tropical cyclone that made landfall. It is a weather system that developed in the area and resulted in more of the rain. I mean, the area in itself has received almost close to half of what it receives in a year in those areas, especially in the past 3 days. So it is quite an interesting phenomenon for us, the way the forecast is. But the system, and when you speak of tropical system, they do occur around this time of the year, and it reaches the northern eastern parts, especially if it landed from a tropical cyclone. The difference in this type is that this weather system developed as a low pressure system, and there was no tropical cyclone prior to it happening.
Honolo, thank you so much as always. Honolo Tobela, forecaster at the Weather Service, explaining that situation in Limpopo and Mpumalanga. Real growth needs more than just banking, and Nedbank Commercial Banking is your growth partner. Their team of industry experts understand your business and its potential, offering insight to help you see opportunity where others see obstacles. Because when you can see what others don't, you can do what others can't. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
LLB graduates can fast-track their legal career with the Law Society of South Africa's PVT School for Legal Practice. LPC accredited, this 4-month practice-ready course, which is taught by practicing lawyers, can reduce your PVT contract by 12 months for admission. Study by day, after hours, or via distance at campuses nationwide. The first 2026 intake runs from January to April. Applications close 31 October 2025. Apply now at lssalead.org.za. That's lssalead.org.za.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 Rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
WhatsApp Mandy
on 072 702 1702.
Mandy, it's Brian in Johannesburg. What a scandal with John Steenhuisen. Another John Steenhuisen scandal. He's definitely a liability to the DA.
Thank you very much. Reacting there to that breaking news, Dion George quitting the DA live on ENCA just as the show started today. Lots of WhatsApp messages coming in response to that. Let me find a couple of these over here. Hi, Mandy. Great show. Loving the drama there by My Blood is Blue. Oh, that's such a nice message. Off topic, Nyana. So happy to witness Mongezi's growth. He's quite special. Excited to see him thrive. And he's doing a great job and did a great job standing in for me as well. On this issue of John Steenhuisen, Deborah says, Mandy, I have no confidence in John Steenhuisen. While he leads, they will never get my vote again. That smear campaign was the final straw. Dion George alleging that there was a smear campaign. We are trying to get comment from the Democratic Alliance. No one is speaking at this stage. They say they will issue a statement shortly, but we will keep trying. 12:30, time for Eyewitness News headlines.
Thanks, Mandy. Good afternoon. The Limpopo government has stepped up on its ground response to flooding in parts of the province as the Cocktail MEC makes its first visit to the hard-hit Guyani area since the rains began. The visit comes as emergency personnel increase their presence in flood-prone communities where conditions remain dangerous. Authorities say the move is aimed at preventing further loss of life as water levels remain high. Meanwhile, in Mpumalanga, authorities in the province have confirmed that 19 people have died as a result of flooding incidents across the province since November following persistent heavy rainfall. The latest fatality was reported on Tuesday after one person was swept away by the floods while attempting to cross a river near White River in the Msholozi settlement. The Cooperative Governance, Human Settlements and Traditional Affairs Department in the province says most of the fatalities were linked to drownings caused by overflowing rivers and damaged bridges. And Action SA has today unveiled a new bill to tighten whistleblower protection and to provide for incentives to those who put their lives on the line to expose rot. The party's parliamentary leader, Athol Cholip, says Justice Minister Mamulo Gugubai has been too slow to act in amending the Protected Disclosures Act. Those are the headlines. This Eyewitness News and more at 1 o'clock or as it happens.
EWN Sport.
Good afternoon, I'm Tolagile Mganga. New Zealand Rugby Chairman David Kirk says they haven't started talks with potential replacements after Scott Robinson was sacked as head coach. That's after 2 years in charge. Robinson came under pressure following an away defeat by Argentina and a record loss to the Springboks in the Rugby Championship last year. While there have been reports of tension between him and senior players.
No one in mind, completely open. We're going to cast the net wide. We're going to get as many people as we can. We think that coaching the All Blacks is is the greatest rugby coaching role in the world, and we're very hopeful we'll see plenty of highly qualified candidates.
Sadio Mane will look to retire from the Senegal national team with a winner's medal. That's when they compete in Sunday's AFCON final against host Morocco. The Lions of Teranga sealed their passage into the game following a 1-0 win over Egypt in the first semi-final, while it was penalty shootout heartbreak for Eric Chell's Nigeria, who lost 4-2 to the Atlas Lions after that game had finished goalless at the end of extra time.
Morocco, they deserved this victory, but our state of mind was good. We fight on every ball. I know my group, and for sure, it was not easy for us for this game, but the player give us a good response with the state of mind. They fight on every ball.
And 9-time Olympic gold medalist Katie Ledecky clocked the second fastest swim ever in the women's 1,500-meter freestyle. That's at a U.S. Pro Swim Series event in a time of 15 minutes, 23.21 seconds. Ledecky's time is second only to her own world record of 15 minutes, 20.48 seconds, which she set at another Pro-Am swim back in May 2018. Tolagile Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, if you're leaving the Joburg CBD, there's slow-moving traffic in Selby, M2 westbound between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road. In Midrand, traffic sluggish. This is on the N1 southbound between Olifantsfontein Road and New Road. While in the Mother City, there's that accident seen on the M3 southbound between Firgrove Way heading towards Kendall Road, causing heavy delays. And Baden-Powell Drive, there's sand on that roadway. That's between Oscar Mpeto and Niue. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Good afternoon, Mandy. Chavlan from Whiteville in Pinon. I think Hemen Mashaba is licking his lips. That is gonna get Dion George. I know it's gonna happen like that. It's coming. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's definitely an option. In fact, Dion George in his statement speaks about a potential reconciliation and whether that would be possible. And I have his full statement in which Dion George on ENCA with Heidi Jokos has been saying that the DA deserves a leader of the highest caliber. The DA's Federal Legal Commission whitewash of Steenhuisen's credit card misuse was the final straw for me. The FLC report submitted this week is a reflection of what the party has become under failed leadership. He speaks about how there was an abuse of donor funds and how it was whitewashed. And then he speaks about Steenhuisen's personal financial vulnerability leaves the DA with a leader who cannot challenge the ANC and the GNU, who is willing to throw countless loyal, hard-working DA leaders like me to the wolves, where they stand up for DA members and South Africa's interests, and who cannot exit the GNU under any circumstances, given that he is completely financially compromised. And then he also speaks about how he feels that John Steenhuisen is beholden to President Ramaphosa, and how the DA has lost its way in its economic policy and foreign policy under the GNU. The government has not been able to negotiate the same low 10% tariff rates of other African countries with the US, and this will come at a huge price in jobs, economic growth, and safety for ordinary South Africans. That's the full statement from Dion George. My argument on all of this, because it's Game of Thrones in the DA, there's so many different factions, so many different houses, there's no two clear centers of power. It's much more complex, and I think it could be very damaging for the DA in a local government election year. And listen, I'm not going to say that the DA has been gifted many of these metros, but when they are saying that they are campaigning on a track record of service delivery, they've got the evidence to show it, and they could do so well in this local government election. It is a worry that this kind of infighting, this Game of Thrones, is going to damage the DA at the polls, and it really needs to decide, is it a party in government? Is it an opposition party? What exactly is it going into the local government elections?
702. 702. Mandy Wiener.
Weekdays, 12 to 1 p.m.
Barbara Creecy, the Minister of Transport, today releasing the stats on the festive season road report, which unfortunately the headline from that is always how many people lost their lives on South Africa's roads. There's a lot more to the report, but that's what we focus on because it just blows my mind constantly that so many people die on our roads during the festive season. Well, Tubiso Goba, EWN reporter, following that briefing for us, and he joins us now. Tubiso, good afternoon to you. Thanks for coming in. A 5%, I mean, how do you even phrase this? A 5% improvement. We lost fewer people this year than we did last year, but we still lost so many people.
Good afternoon, Mandy. I think your frustration is equally shared by the Minister of Transport, Barbara Creecy, in saying that this is not normal. This is not normal that in South Africa we have this period. This period in question is from the 1st of December last year to the 11th of January this year. That we have this period that we've even called a festive season period where we just have thousands of people die. Now, 1,427 people died during this period in question. This is from 1,172 crashes. As you said, it's an improvement, but even the minister did say that it's still a very, very high number, especially when you benchmark it across other nations, developing nations and developed nations. Now, the provinces that we've seen a high number of increases in terms of road crashes and road fatalities is Gauteng, Western Cape, and Mpumalanga. And now the interesting thing, Mandy, is that around 40% of these crashes and road fatalities took place between those 2 weeks, between the 15th of December and the 28th of December. We know that this is a period where a lot of companies close, a lot of people go on leave, a lot of people, change cities and go home. But it's also the period where there's quite a number of substantial holidays, Day of Reconciliation, Christmas, and Boxing Day. So this is where a lot of these road fatalities and crashes took place. And when you even look at the time, it's between 7 p.m. and 1 a.m. So these are times when there's low visibility and obviously it's at night. Some of the things that the Transport Minister, Barbara Creecy, talked very strongly about was around drunk driving. Now, over 8,000 people were arrested for drunk driving, and this is represented a staggering 144 increase compared to the previous period, which was in 2024-2025. Now, there's something interesting that Barbara Creecy said, that's the Transport Minister, and said that she wants stricter review and stricter policy on South Africa's legal age driving limits. We do know that the current driving limit is 0.05 grams of alcohol per 100 liters. Now, that's if you, depending on your weight, if you have about 2 drinks of beer, you're already over the limit. And she says this is not enough. We have to go stronger. And this is what she had to say around South Africa's problem of drunk driving.
I'm very clear that this death toll is way, way too high. And that is why we are introducing a new measure. And that measure is to prevent any form of drinking and driving. Because all scientific evidence indicates that alcohol intake diminishes concentration. The reason why we explained that 40% of accidents occurred between the 15th and the 28th of December is because those accidents did not occur on our national highways. They occurred on back routes, they involved private vehicles, and they occurred in the evenings. And those factors tell us that these were not travelers who were moving to a long-distance destination. These were party revelers who had accidents, serious accidents, that resulted in several deaths.
Sure, they're very interesting, that suggestion. I'm sure there'll be a lot of backlash to this, but I absolutely agree with that. I think that you should not drink at all and drive. And I know that many people will say that that's, you can have one drink. My rule is no drink, no drive, because of the risk and the kind of level that we're seeing on the roads. She's also spoken about trucks and taxis as well. What did she say about that?
So there has been some improvements with regards to trucks and taxis. In terms of the numbers that we put out for those crashes, 1,172, around 7% of them were from taxi drivers, minibus taxis, and around another 7% were from trucks. So that is an improvement in terms of the number of crashes. But interestingly enough, the Santaco president, Mr. Abna Tsebe, he also spoke around the issue of drunk driving and saying that they are trying to introduce a policy where in taxi ranks, especially those long-distance taxi ranks, that taxi drivers are going to be given a drunk driving a breathalyzer, yes, breathalyzer, that word just ran away from me. So they are going to start breathalyzing their long-distance taxi drivers at taxi ranks, ensuring that everyone obviously who does do those long-distance taxi drives is obviously in the right state of mind to drive, because we do know that a lot of these accidents happen, especially with those long-distance taxi drivers, and when they do happen, unfortunately, it is multiple casualties.
Tabiso, thank you very much. Tabiso Goba, EWN reporter, speaking to us there about the release of the festive season road safety report.
7:02.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Let's walk the talk.
In Parliament, the head of crime intelligence, Dumisani Khumalo, is on the stand giving evidence at Parliament's ad hoc committee, continuing its hearings into allegations of police corruption and interference. Babalo Ndenze, EWN reporter, following that for us. Babalo, good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us. Tell us about what the head of crime intelligence is saying.
Yes, good afternoon, Mandy. Yes, indeed, head of crime intelligence, Dumisani Khumalo, making his first appearance today before the ad hoc committee. He's spoken on a number of issues that have been put to him by the evidence leader, or the evidence leaders rather, and as well as some members of the committee around his experience, or his lack of experience rather, when it comes to detective work and crime intelligence. And members are just trying to get an idea if is this indeed true. And he's dismissed these assertions that he's inexperienced, telling the members that he's been on the operational side of coordination in crime intelligence for a number of years, and he's got the relevant experience, especially when it comes to crime intelligence. And he started way back in 1991, as a junior constable, and he's been with crime intelligence for most of his career. And so he's basically been questioned around issues around that, as well as asked about his role within crime intelligence and some of the decisions that he's taken over the years. He's talking about misinformation based on the decisions that he's taken on ghost employees, for example. He says, he found, several or hundreds of ghost employees within crime intelligence, and they managed to identify these ghost employees and cancel, those contracts. And he says the misinformation in that relation was because people were saying that he's incapacitating the crime intelligence, and he said these were in the media. He also touched on, misinformation around the vehicles that he took from some of these senior officers in crime intelligence, that had been basically just sitting there and not doing anything constructive and could have been used, elsewhere. And he says that the misinformation in the media in that respect was that people were saying that crime intelligence vehicles are sitting in the garages and collecting dust. And he says, this is just a small example of the kind of pushback that he received, through some of his directives as the head of crime intelligence. Also, the main issue in the PKTT, or the Political Killings Task Team, and the disbanding of the Political Killings Task Team, and that directive by Minister Senzo Mchunu. And he's just telling members again that, that IMC, the Interministerial Committee, which is chaired by the police minister and exercises oversight over the PKTT, which he headed as the project coordinator. He says the IMC minutes that he's presented or submitted in the committee are quite clear, that they indicate that the PKTT must not be dissolved, it must continue. So it's another submission by another witness that is basically, speaking against what Senzo Mchunu was saying earlier during his testimony last year. Also, on the political killings themselves, Mandy, he's saying that, political killings are spiking, especially during election years, which is this year, for example. And he says this goes back to 2016. And he says it's not just on the election year that these political killings or political cases spike. He says even after the elections, there are issues like when there are hung municipalities. He says they also notice a spike in killings where, there's a scramble for seats during a hung municipality, those negotiations. So he's touched on all these issues during his first couple of hours on his first day of testimony, Mandy.
Babalo, thank you very much. Babalo Ndenze, EWN reporter, speaking to us there about that testimony from Crime Intelligence Head Dumisani Khumalo. Let's take a listen in now, and this feed is courtesy of Newsroom Africa.
Not to lose the value that the PKTT is currently adding to SAPS.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members. It's very possible. It needs a will from all arms of the state. I'll make a practical example of capacity that is already there. In terms of not losing evidence, the PKTT is having their own crime scene experts that will go to the crime scene at any time of the day or night and collect evidence. Looking at the capacity that we have countrywide, we can have that capacity spread throughout all the police stations for starters, because it's one of the critical investigative aid that is still centralized or secluded. The detective from a particular station has to wait for 6 to 7 hours for someone from crime scene management to attend the crime scene. And then also we have a lot of call data analysts that are trained, but they are centralized at provincial or unit levels. So if there is a will, it's something that can happen. That is very possible, that we spread this methodology employed by the team throughout the country.
That is the head of crime intelligence at the police, Dumisani Khumalo, currently giving evidence about the political killings task team to the ad hoc committee.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a family driving to their new home, carrying boxes stacked with plates and toys and memories. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a new beginning, a fresh start on the move. Every story is different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. This is Cindy on a 4-hour road trip with the girls.
Did you know in the 1970s this landmark...
And this is Cindy when she shares her 200 gig for 299 Rand on her MiFi router.
Guys, Dodo, you're the DJ.
Extra your summer with a 200 gig SIM-only data deal for only 299 Rand per month and stream anywhere with 2 months free YouTube Premium plus 5 gigs free YouTube data. Sign up or upgrade online and in store. T's and C's apply. Further together, Vodacom.
702 was in conversation with Nedbank CIB to discuss unlocking South Africa's potential through infrastructure and industrial renewal. Here's what you missed.
For us at Nedbank, we see it as a driver for economic outcomes. So it's not just a theory. In 2025 at Nedbank, we've seen how capital allocation decisions are being shaped by infrastructure performance, and we're encouraged by the legislative reforms which support the crowding in of private sector investment in infrastructure. Following what we've seen in energy and Eskom, we're really excited about the announcements that government has made around transport and Transnet, and we actually really believe that we as South Africa and potentially the continent are on the cusp of the largest rail reform program in the century, which is really aimed at revitalizing the transport and logistics sector.
702 in conversation with Nedbank CIB. Listen to the full podcast and more on primemediaplus.com.
And now, it's back to Mandy Wiener on the Midday Report.
This is 702.
Let's walk the talk.
On the WhatsApp line, Ellison says, I worked alongside Deon George many years ago. He's a highly ethical, hardworking, highly intelligent person. I've always admired him and the work he has done for our country. He has been treated incredibly badly. My heart is very sore for him. Lots of reaction to that breaking news. Deon George quitting the DA live on television and explaining that he alleges that John Steenhuisen effectively misspent donor money, and that this was whitewashed by the Democratic Alliance, and that he is incumbent to the president, and he's beholden to the president, and that the DA has lost its way when it comes to economic policy and foreign policy as well. I'm sure there'll be lots more reaction to that. But let's look away from our own local politics to what's happening in Uganda today, because polls are open in Uganda, elections underway. President Yoweri Museveni expected to extend his 4-decade rule. There's been a police crackdown on the opposition, fears of violence, and internet shutdown as well. Let's speak now to Dr. Greg Mills, Platform for African Democrats, joining us now. Greg, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, good afternoon.
The situation in Uganda today, President Yoweri Museveni again being accused of cracking down on critics, arresting political opposition leaders, their supporters. We know Bobby Wine making these allegations again. Their campaign rallies have been disrupted as well. What's the context in Uganda and these elections?
Well, it's really two elections in one. On the one hand, it's a contest really between Bobby Wine, the 43-year-old, versus the 81-year-old Yoweri Museveni, the one who's seen as the ghetto president, the one who's been in power, as you term it, for 4 decades, and who headed a liberation struggle and only reluctantly turned to democracy after 2006. So that's the one election. And of course, Museveni, with his military background and his military forces and his son as the chief of defense force leader, he's resorted to the security forces to clamp down. So he's run interference against everything that Bobby Wine has done, because Wine represents a huge threat to Museveni's continued rule, and indeed the second contest, which is who takes over from Museveni, and his son, the chief of defense staff, Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who has tweeted all sorts of outrageous things about political opponents, killing them in basements, castrating them, and all this sort of stuff. He's seen to be the man most likely. So this is as much a contest about who succeeds Museveni as it is between Wine and Museveni today. And of course, as I said, he's run interference. I think the notable thing has been that while Museveni has kind of extended every chapter in the playbook for authoritarians and done everything in his power to ensure an unlevel playing field, to use a South Africanism, Bobby Wine has also written a few chapters of his own in the playbook for Democrats by almost, without fail, keeping his cool despite the utmost provocation, beatings, detentions, arbitrary arrests, and the like. I think the last point I would make is that Museveni, of course, thinks he has an international tailwind behind him, given the fact that the world is distracted with Ukraine, Venezuela, Greenland, and pick any other crisis that you want, and he probably feels he can get away with it. but he's also, in a sense, preparing the ground for what happens afterwards. Uganda has an incredibly young population. 85% of the population is under the age of 25. Most people have never known another president other than Museveni, and their living conditions are very poor. They are about half as rich as the average in sub-Saharan Africa. So it's a pretty tough environment in which to operate, and one in which young people who remain connected to the world have found it very difficult, and they relate much better, it would seem, to Wine than they do to Museveni. So he's, in a sense, with his internet crackdown, the level of security force presence, almost preparing for what happens the day after when he announces himself almost inevitably as the winner.
What kind of international pushback is there when the polls are clearly rigged? I understand your point about how he feels like he has a global tailwind and everyone's distracted, but is there any kind of real pushback, and has there been over the past 41 years?
Well, no. I mean, famously in 2016, when Kizza Besigye, who's now in prison, stood against in his fourth attempt against Museveni, once a colleague of Museveni's, and they fell out over the absence of democracy. Kizza Besigye was arrested on the day of the election, despite being the main presidential opposition leader. In fact, probably because he was the main opposition leader. And then the Commonwealth came out with a very strongly worded statement, being led by President Olusegun Obasanjo, formerly the president of Nigeria, criticizing the election, and the world did nothing. And that was 2016, when the world essentially had been moving more in the democratic space rather than away from it, which is the case today. We've already seen, the sort of, statements from the European Union that it's hugely concerned. They're going to probably shift to being deeply worried in a moment, but it's an indication that they really don't have a sufficient dog in this fight to do anything about it. And the US has made it very clear under Donald Trump that it's not commenting on elections. So we're really in the hands of the African Union and the regional bodies, and almost invariably they come down on the side of incumbents. And in this case, even if it is Museveni and he's been there for far too long.
Greg, thank you so much. Dr. Greg Mills from the Platform for African Democrats speaking to us there about the elections currently underway in Uganda.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
Good day, Mandy. I was listening to your insert on road deaths in South Africa from December to January. And the reporter mentioned that people change cities and go home. Well, let's not beat about the bush. A lot of those people are going home to the Eastern Cape, including me. And I've had to travel on the road during the day where I've had to deal with multiple trucks with multiple axles, driving extremely dangerous.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a parent shuttling his kids, with a back seat full of chatter, laughter, lunchboxes, and lost shoes. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a regular yet special slice of a family's life. Every story's different, and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005, in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
The Dis-Chem Better Rewards program is here, and every time you shop and save, you're also giving back. Each time you swipe, not only are you rewarded, but a percentage of your purchase is donated to the Dis-Chem Foundation to support communities in need. So why wait? Sign up to become a Better Rewards member today and support with every swipe. Dis-Chem Foundation, caring for the community.
Small businesses are anything but small. They're the backbone of our communities. The dreamers, the doers. The ones who keep Mzansi moving forward. That's why 702 and Capitec Business Banking are putting them in the spotlight. Every Thursday between 6 and 8 p.m. catch Small Business Focus with Capitec, where we showcase the hustle, heart, and the secrets to thriving in today's economy. Your vision matters, and with Capitec, you're never building it alone. Small Business Focus with Capitec, the business bank for everyone. Thursdays between 6 and 8 p.m. on
702, the Midday Report, Monday to Friday.
12 to 1 p.m.
Thank you very much for joining us. I think that the story of Deon George quitting the DA live on ENCA, that's going to continue to rumble through the afternoon. The DA not speaking yet. It says it will release a statement shortly, so keep following that one. The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. It's 1 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Deon George quits the DA and Ugandans take to the polls today. Good afternoon, I'm Mikey Malapo. We begin with news just in. The DA says it will release a statement soon in response to Deon George announcing that he has quit the party. In an exclusive interview with ENCA today, George read out his statement announcing that he is cancelling his membership and resigning as a member of parliament. The former interview with ENCA today, George read out his statement announcing that he is cancelling his membership and resigning as a member of parliament. The former Forestry, Fisheries and Environment Minister alleges that he was being pushed out from the party. He recently had a public fallout with party leader John Steenhuisen following his removal from his ministerial position last year. George served as the party's federal finance chair, and during his tenure, he accused Steenhuisen of abusing the party's credit card. We'll have more on this story as it develops. The Limpopo government has stepped up its on-the-ground response to flooding in parts of the province as the Kokta MEC makes its first visit to the hard-hit Giyani area since the rains began. The visit comes as emergency personnel increase their presence in flood-prone communities where conditions remain dangerous. Authorities say the move is aimed at preventing further loss of life as water levels remain high. Mungezi Koko has more from Limpopo.
Here in Giyani, the scale of the flooding is evident with fast-moving water still cutting through low-lying areas and muddy roads lined with debris. Police have cordoned off the flooded D3840 bridge as rescue teams continue their work nearby. The visit by Kokta MEC Basikopo Makamu marks his first time on the ground in Giyani since the flooding began.
But now the police are here, they've closed the road. I can confirm that community of Maula, where me and you now, where we are, can access.
Officials say the heightened presence of emergency services will continue as heavy rain remains a threat, while communities are urged to stay away from flood-prone areas. Monkey Zikoko, Eyewitness News, Giyani.
Meanwhile, in Mpumalanga, authorities in the province have confirmed that